All right, new year coming up for me and you. And with this, I was like, I think that 2025 is a year. And with that, I do think there's some things that I think that WWE can do to. There's some people I think they need to push this year, basically. I was like, I know there's already a lot of people at the top, especially, I mean, really, to be honest, on both, I was like, in both the men's and women's division, like, at the top, I think it is a pretty thick sandwich. I was like, after that, and pushing to me is different thing. I know everybody just thinks it's being in title matches or being in the main spot, but to me, it's basically being prominent on TV as well. Cause I'm like, there's some people like Apollo Crews. He's not getting no push. He's not on TV or nothing like that. But I was like, but then I think there's different levels for different people. So I was like, we're just gonna go ahead and jump into it to explain. All right, I was like, one person I think they need to is Carmelo Hayes. You know what do you think? I was like, yeah, he's the number one draft pick here too. And I was like, the fact that the only thing you could really sort of, I was like, I could take a three moments really with him, and that's really, like I said, the two Cody matches and the Randy Orton match. That's it. Where I was like, he lost to Cody twice, but he beat Randy Orton in the King of the Ring tournament, and I was like, he had a good showing, pretty much there, and I was like, that was it. I was like, his very first night with Cody. I was like the Randy Orton match, which I was like after he lost, but he figured out how to win this one. With a lot of his matches sort of just end up being like he figured it out or whatever. I was like, I get he's a heel, but I was like, he's also escaping with wins that is just I was like he get by the bare minimum type of stuff. And then he had a Cody match like not too long ago, where it's like, of course, you're gonna lose that one. That one particularly doesn't bother me or whatever. Now he's in this thing with Strowman, but I was like, he just had to done nothing. I was like, yeah, he sort of was in things with LA Knight, but at the time he was so dead that you knew you didn't believe it at all. It wasn't like Carmelo was like hot, LA Knight is hot to where it's like, oh, can he get? No, he didn't. He's not. Anyway, I was like, considering how we seen Braun Breaker being shown, and I know that they weren't giving him the wins, but Ilya Dragunov was to me was even getting like showcased and shown, even though he wasn't necessarily winning. But I was like, but that was also because they were doing the thing with him and Braun, so it's not, I was like, it's not necessarily the same thing. Like, yeah, they sort of tried it with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, which I mean, like the matches were good, but I was like Andrade also not getting the same type of or whatever. Um, yeah, I was like, so on top of that, now I was like, number two, this is sort of my little combo ish pick, but, and I guess maybe this is really too much optimism, but Maxine Dupree and bfab. I was like, the reason I chose both of these two people for this spot is because I think that one, I was like, let's go with bfab. Cause I was gonna say, I was like, I think when they had when she was in the triple threat for the women's U.S. championship, I was like, I think she showed out in that match in a way that we haven't seen. Cause we don't really see bfab wrestle. So I was like, I think that I was like, and she's also pretty young as well too, and sort of just got the called up and whatnot early, just sort of like Maxine. That I think that I was like that I think that her what she showcased in the match, I was like, I think she had a prep about herself. She could already sort of like talk a bit. Of course, you're going to have to do it in order to get practice. But I think that she had something there to where you can bring her up and make her one of these young type of people that you get behind. What speaking of is Maxine Dupree, who I think they had a chance to do it and they really didn't execute it. I was like, after all that stuff online about people booing her at the little house show and people coming to her defense, which I was like, they should, they're wrestlers or whatever. But the outside people was like, nobody said anything really that bad or whatever like that. Like I'm allowed to say like this is within the limits of what I'm able to express where there was no line stretch. Like yes, was it being rude or being an ass? But yeah, but I was like okay, but I was like don't. I was like don't. This, I was like don't feel sad for her, like she's like a dog in the cold or whatever. But then they ran with that, like later on, where it was like she was getting basically verbally bullied and stuff, to where she had to basically overcome it. And they did that for about like 2 weeks to a month, maybe, or whatever. And I thought they could have did something pretty good also with her and Ivy Niles, and we're sort of seeing them bring back the Alpha Academy and America May. But I think that was I think that she could have been a pure baby face in a way that, like, yes, you don't necessarily, you don't need her winning championship, but you just put her out there and just like how they did it, they showed that she was getting better and better, and maybe you just give her a one off type of like, oh, she went on this like four winning streak or whatever, and it's like on this episode of Raw, fine, you want the championship match, you get this championship match. She loses, but you can win in a losing situation. So I was like, they had a chance to have her, and I like, cause she still is over. People still like Maxine Dupree, but I was like, but have, and I was like, you also sort of, and you hear what bfab too, of like, like the cheer. So like, yeah, granted she was a street profit, but to use street profits to also help out her, or that, hey, it could work out for anybody. So I was like, I think that they don't have to, like, and like I said, they don't have to push them to the moon. It don't have to be all that. I was like, but you can, but I was like, but I think you can get them to be a pretty good baby face in that type of sense. Um, I was like, I was like, after that, I did want to say, I was like, oh, the Street Profits, but I was like, I was like, I don't know, I was like, no, but we're gonna go to Bronson Reed. I was like, I think he was getting it all the way up to blood. I was like, cause he was in War Games with the Bloodline until he like busted his ankle. And the reason I have to put him here is because one, I was like, cause I was like, I know what you're saying. He already sort of got a push. I was like, yeah, but we don't know how it was gonna go, and how far he was gonna get into, what role was he gonna get into, was he gonna get into something with Punk? I was like, they both for that blood War Games. Was he gonna be somewhere in the trifecta of Punk and Seth? Like that's what I'm saying. But basically, I put him here because I'm like, when he comes back, have him come back and basically remind us of what he was doing beforehand, and give us what we want with either a title shot and all the other stuff that he sort of earned. Like, don't forget about him. Like, let him come back and he just start wrecking shit. He's mad he was gone for so long. Let him be the monster that he needs to be. That he was building up to be. Because I was like, he could have had a prominent WrestleMania spot, but I was like, I don't think he'll. I don't think there's any way that he'll necessarily be back in time in order to be there for that. Um, and I was like, number 4, I sort of feel like is Dragon Lee. I was like, I think when he gets in the ring, awesome, great. We already know his skills. I understand that the speaking portion is always a little bit lacking. There is, or what, but I also need him to do something outside. Like, I really think he should be out of the LWO, because I was like, I don't think he needs it. Like, especially if they're not really gonna use him in with the LWO either. Like, yeah, I was like, it's because it's weird. Him and Ray got a tag team because you got to showcase Dragon Lee, and you want to use Ray specialty with that when they got a real tag team. That's sort of stupid. But I was like, I was like, and you're not going to use Zelina as a mouthpiece to talk for him. I was like, either give him somebody to talk for him, or just let him go out here and just sort of just do matches, and then just sort of let him in ring speak. I think he has more flair and stuff like that than Andrade, to where, like, after a while, I was like, that people will get behind Dragon Lee in a way I don't think that people have gotten behind Andrade. But I was like, I'm not saying that world championship, like I said, that stuff is full. But I was like, you have him on Raw. You could have a whole bunch of matches with him and Braun Breaker. I was like, two fast moving dudes. I was like, there's so many people in that scene or whatever. Like, I was like, at some point, he's probably gonna get flipped to SmackDown and just rival with Andrade. But you get what I'm saying. I was like, and they already sort of done that too, because I was like, Andrade is the one that took his spot at WrestleMania, so they've already done that. I was like, give him a change, do something better with him. And at number 5, I was like, I know it seemed like I'm short. I'm gonna say Ivy Niles. I was like, I thought about Dakota Kai and I thought about Zelina, and I was like, I think Zelina I think it's Alina and Dakota Kai are actually sort of getting their push. I think because I was like everybody cheering for Dakota and everybody really loves Zelina. I was like, while I think Zelina should be like almost getting like main championship status, but hey, I was like I think they're in the mix. Ivy now I felt like it's somebody that's kind of like I like you can do a lot with her, and maybe they will because she's an American made at some point. But I was like, she can really wrestle. I was like, I was like, not that I'm saying it's like she's over here just being acrobatic, but I was like, she could do that as well too. I feel like she could play in whatever house of like style that she want to do. I think she had a good look with her, and I think that her being with her crew also helps with that as well too. I was like that way, and I was like also I was like, while we haven't really had to hear her talk like that, I was like, I don't know where she's at on that level. You got Chad Gable there as well too. So I was like, you can have her just totally be the pit bull that she is, and just go out there and fight and defend her championship. Like I was like, if the Intercontinental Championship is supposed to be that workhorse type of championship, I'm like, that she would be the one that you can do that with. You get what I'm saying? So I was like, but I've always sort of been behind Ivy Niles this whole time. That I think that I'm like, she's somebody I was like you could like as soon as she sort of came up with the Creeds, you could I was like, and they was on TV. She was not getting pushed in the same way. Now that she's sort of doing more single stuff, she was at least for a minute. Now she's not really at much. But I was like, give her a push, give her the go. But anyway, those are just I was like I say I did not cop out. I didn't put like a trifecta of women there. But anyway, those are 5 people I think that WWE should try to push because I was like a lot of people's already in their prominent role. It's just about them getting championships where like these people are like I'm like actually making something out of them where they actually can be thrown in them roles even if they don't necessarily win it. But anyway, let me know what y'all think. Who are y'all people that y'all want to see push? But until then, peace. I'm out.